This is Dan Dix here reporting for Press for Truth, and what you're looking at here, guys, is the Ministry of Justice building in the United Kingdom, where the words "repeat after us, trans women are women" was recently projected on the side of the building, to which the author J.K. Rowling, who famously wrote the Harry Potter books, posted and just said simply, no. To which somebody else replied and said, "Vote Labour, get a 2-year stretch." So she says, "I'd happily do 2 years if the alternative is compelled speech and forced denial of the reality and importance of sex. Bring on the court case, I say. It'll be more fun than I've ever had on the red carpet." So what's going on here, ladies and gentlemen? Well, of course, they're referring to the fact that Labour, the official opposition to the government in the UK, is seeking to jail people who use wrong gender pronouns on purpose under hate crime law. Purposely calling someone by the wrong gender pronoun could lead to jail time of up to 2 years, as it may be treated as a hate crime under the Labour government. Now, if this sounds familiar to you, you may recall us Canadians had dealt with the same thing. I put this out way back in June of 2016. U of T professor, refusing to use preferred pronouns may soon be breaking the law. And of course, I was referring to Jordan Peterson, who back then initially got famous after refusing to refer to some of his students by their preferred gender pronouns. And he was making the case that Bill C-16 was compelled speech laws. And indeed it was. Here it is, an act to amend the Canadian Human Rights Act and the Criminal Code, where they wanted to add gender identity and expression. Here, it says, "The bill is intended to protect individuals from discrimination within the sphere of federal jurisdiction and from being the targets of hate propaganda as a consequence of their gender identity and their gender expression. The bill adds gender identity or expression to the list of prohibited grounds of discrimination in the Canadian Human Rights Act and the list of characteristics of undefinable groups protected by the hate propaganda in the Criminal Code. It also adds that evidence that an offense was motivated by bias, prejudice, or hate based on a person's gender identity or expression constitutes an aggravated circumstance for the court to consider when imposing a criminal sentence." Now, something you may not be aware of, guys, is the words, misgendering someone's pronouns doesn't actually come up in this amended bill. In fact, the policy on preventing discrimination because of gender identity and gender expression that was put out by the Ontario Human Rights Commission does say, however, on page 18, says right here, gender-based harassment can involve refusing to refer to a person by their self-identified name and proper personal pronouns. So there's still a bit of a gray area here in Canada when it comes to this, ladies and gentlemen. But in the UK, if the Labour Party would have it their way, people would be going to jail for up to 2 years for, quote, misgendering someone with the so-called incorrect pronoun. Absolutely insane, guys. We're going to talk about this and so much more in this video. But really quickly, just before we do, I'd ask that you check me out here at pressfortruth.ca/donate. If you really appreciate my efforts to bring you this info, here you can do one-time donation with PayPal. You can do Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies. You could join me on Subscribestar for a monthly recurring contribution. You could sign up, send an e-transfer to Dan at pressfortruth.ca, or you can send stuff to my P.O. Box, guys. Links for all of this are located in the description below. Thank you so much to everybody who does take the time and effort today to support my work here at Press for Truth. All right, guys, as I said, this goes way back in Canada. I put this out in June of 2016, challenging Bill C-16 and Bill 89 at Pride Vancouver, where I was basically just going around in 2016 to the Pride parades asking people about Bill C-16 and Bill 89 specifically, which would compel parents to be forced to use their child's preferred gender pronoun, and their kid could be taken away from them if they didn't do this. And I managed to find some parents who were bringing their kids to Pride, like these two here, who were fully in favor of this type of stuff. And they were the ones pushing for the passing of Bill C-16 that obviously Jordan Peterson got famous for refusing. But now we had the UK Labour Party trying to take this a whole step further, not only by putting people in jail for this, but believe it or not, they're even going to hire tens of thousands of enforcers to, crack down on this so-called hate crimes. So we see here, a person who purposefully calls someone by the wrong gender pronoun could be jailed for a hate crime. Don't they mean a person who purposefully calls someone by the correct gender pronoun could be jailed for a hate crime? Because that's all that's happening here. J.K. Rowling is just adhering to reality. She doesn't want to kowtow to, nonsense because of hurt feelings. So it's, it's interesting that they say, you're going to go to jail for using the wrong gender pronouns. No, they're going to jail for using the correct gender pronouns. The opposition would make attacks motivated by hatred of the victim's gender identity into aggravated offenses, right? So this is a whole new level, which could land you in jail for 2 years. This would bring transphobic abuse into line with assault and harassment, motivated by hatred on the grounds of race and religion, which are punishable by up to 2 years in prison. Folks, again, for hurting the feelings of a transgender person by sticking to what, reality is. And again, if the UK gets their way, they'll see people being arrested and thrown in jail for up to 2 years. But here's where things get really crazy here, guys. As we see here, Labour will strengthen the law to ensure the perpetrators of anti-LGBTQ plus hate can no longer dodge longer sentences. Guys, the ones who are hateful here amongst the LGBTQ and the anti-LGBTQ crowd are very clearly on display and have been for years. I've been documenting it for a long time. In fact, in case you forgot, back when I was filmed this interaction with Billboard Chris, right here, dude couldn't handle Chris's words, so he literally tried to rip his throat out. And in case you didn't know, interestingly enough, how things all come around full circle, Billboard Chris initially got that name because he's the guy who paid for billboards to go up in Vancouver that said, "I heart J.K. Rowling." And obviously that became controversial at the time, and he started going around wearing the, sandwich boards that say children can't consent to puberty blockers. But he's the guy who originally created the I Heart J.K. Rowling billboards, which is why he's called Billboard Chris. And interestingly enough, that's how that started, and now it's all coming around full circle with J.K. Rowling here saying, hey, I'll gladly go to prison for a couple of years. Bring it on. She even funnily says, somebody here is like, see you on the inside. I quite fancy the kitchens. So she's like, I'm hoping for the library, obviously. But I think I could do okay in the kitchens. Laundry might be a problem. I have a tendency to shrink stuff and turn it pink accidentally. Guessing that won't be a major issue if it's mostly scrubs and sheets, though. And I gotta say, I love the fact that she's maintaining, her sense of humor throughout this. She's not concerned about, cancel culture coming after her. In fact, she's like, bring it on. Bring on the court case. I will gladly stand for truth and logic and rationality here. So, again, it's something I think is really good to see. But check this out. Taking it a step further, they say, our fully funded plan to recruit 13,000 more neighborhood police and community support officers would increase safety for everyone. So they want to hire 13,000 people to enforce to catch people in the misusing of gendered pronouns when, like I said, we have documented proof of they are the ones who often get ridiculously violent. It happens time and time again. I've been documenting this for quite some time, guys. Like I said, if you go back to some of my videos, like this one from 2016, 2017, and earlier, I'm warning about the very slippery slope where this is all heading to. And then all of a sudden, C16 comes around, Jordan Peterson comes around, and J.K. Rowling comes around. And now, a few years later, this Labour Party, this opposition in the UK, is now seeking to take it a whole step further by putting you in jail for this. Absolutely insane, guys. I'd be surprised if this actually goes through, but it's certainly something to keep a close eye on. We're going to pay close attention to what's happening there. Just wanted to bring this to your attention, that this is even happening in the first place, guys. Once again, if you do appreciate my efforts to do so, don't forget to check me out here at pressfortruth.ca/donate. Once again, you can click that top link in the description below. Thank you so much to everyone who does take some time today to contribute to my efforts financially here at Press for Truth. And that's all for today, guys. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to click that thumbs up button, share this video, and stay tuned. We're going to have more video reports coming very soon. This is Dan Dix reporting for Press for Truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you